What's going on, guys? It's Kyle with DTOM Knives and Gear. Today we're going to be taking a look at a very interesting budget option from Kershaw. That's right. I haven't seen many Kershaws on the channel. This is the Kershaw Highball XL. Very interesting knife. I was brought on or had gotten my attention because I saw Mild Mannered EDC and the NAF Sergeant. Shout out to those two guys. Those two guys are awesome. And obviously we have some similar tastes, but also different on some things. But they had this knife on their channel, did a review, and really kind of raved about it. So I was like, you know what? I want to try it. So I ended up going ahead and purchasing this thing. This one is definitely on the budget option. It is around $55. And I think that's a good price. Now, what are you getting for that $55? It is a steel frame lock. You're getting some nice accents on the lock bar stabilizer or over travel stop and the pivot. You're getting, bearings, D2 steel, the typical stuff that you get with budget options you get here, but the design itself is just really good. Now, this is the XL. I have not tried the regular size Highball, nor do I want to, because this is called the XL, but as you can see in my hand, it's not XL by my standards. Could be by some. I can get a 4-finger grip on it, as you can see, but there is not much sticking out. So that, it's not an XL. So don't let that fool you. Of course, we will do size comparisons to knives that you should already know what the sizes are to get an idea in a minute. But, I like a particular kind of opening, and this has not a hole, but basically a slot there. You see how that slot is done? Very unique. You don't see that very often. There is your Kershaw. And that is actually turned out to be really good for doing the middle finger flick with that little slot. And then the action. Money for the price. Holy crap. Which, two guys that I really know and love and trust said that it was good, and they were not wrong. This is an excellent knife. Now, steel frame locks, some people like, some people don't, because it does have a little bit of weight to it. But those kind of guys, really just don't like plastic, don't like micarta. They want something steel. It feels more robust. They know steel. They know steel is strong. There's a ton of guys out there. I used to be like that. It's kind of like, Glock versus 1911. Oh, no, we're talking about guns. I'm sorry, YouTube. Fuckers. It's just like that. 1911, mostly all steel made, robust, but it's heavy. That's the trade-off. So the guys that are like that, I believe, will really like this because the price, the materials, the action, the build quality from Kershaw has been good. I have not always had great experiences with Kershaw. Now, Kershaw they have a lot of great knives out there. The Leak, is one of them that I can think of. I bought one for a buddy of mine. Great knife. But there was a few that I had gotten years back before I started really collecting. Well, I've been collecting a lot, but for a while, but before I really got into collecting and using knives more than as I do now. I just didn't have very good experiences, but that's okay. This one has brought me back. That's how much I like it. Now, it's not perfect, but it's close to what you pay if you like this kind of design. I really did not find any problems with this while I was carrying it. And speaking of carry, you do have a loop over deep carry clip. It doesn't go all the way to the butt of the knife, but I think it carries deep enough for most people. I think they could have brought it up to really get it to the butt of the knife, but whatever. I really dig how they did the backspacer. Just looks a little different. I can't remember what the backspacer is made of. Now that is probably G10. That's what it feels like. But I like just the groove, the little design that they kind of put in there, and makes it just a pop with the color of the hardware. Really, really nice. So action is on the drop on the bearings, really nice. The action on the deploy with the middle finger flick is really nice. And it's even, nice on the thumb flick, which I don't really, I don't do that well on whole deployments, to be honest with you. So On the thumb flick, which if you're not a knife person, a lot of non-knife people don't do the reverse flick until they try it, and then they love it because it's really that much fun. Most of them will do the thumb, and it works very, very well. You can get this knife out of your pocket, deploy it, put it back like you're supposed to be able to do a tool, right? The one thing on this knife that I love the design, it's not just the shape. It just looks good. I really dig the way this knife looks with that clip point blade, which is a full flat, well, it's a full flat grind and then it gets into there. But it's a little thick behind the edge, but we'll get into that in a minute. I really, really like the way they done the jimping. See how tall, how far up that jimping goes? I really like that. You know, when the jimping is just back here, it hardly ever works for me because when I'm in a saber grip, my thumb lands in a certain spot and it's usually past that. This jimping goes all the way up to where, right before the clip point starts, and it's really nicely done where it's grippy but not sharp. Like, I really like that. It makes for a great experience of indexing your finger and adding just a little bit of grip. Now, the ergo's on this thing because it's a 4-finger knife for me, but just barely. And it has this little area. I kind of wish this was flattened off a little bit because I still feel a little cramped, kind of like I do when I have a flipper, because my finger is right there and I can't really go past it. I have to stay back behind there. So it feels a little bit cramped, but I do appreciate that it does not really come up to a point or swoop back. It kind of swoops this way, which makes it pretty comfortable in the hand. So yeah, I mean, in most grips that I use this in, it is comfortable. You know, it's not an ergonomic, just a dream, but it's good. You know, it's especially if you have smaller hands than me, this thing right here feels really, really good, and it's robust. You do have the option to move that pocket clip to the left-hand side, and with no flipper, and it being a a frame lock, but still kind of covers up with this plate. I believe it would work well for lefties, not having to have a problem because you do have that plate to kind of keep your finger on and off the lock bar. I really suck at left-handed middle finger flicking. Can I get it? I can't get it. And it's mainly because it's not a hole. It is, I mean, I don't have any problems doing it with the right hand. So I'm actually, which this is in my giveaway, so I can't send it to Kevin Lefty EDC, but I'm wondering if he would be able to manipulate this knife. Might have to just buy one and send it to him and have him check it out, and then he can give it away. Might have to do that. So, yep, I dig it. There's your typical branding on the knife. You have Kershaw there, and then, of course, you have Kershaw and your blade steel model number that indicates the, what are they called? KVT bearings, I think, is what that indicates there. Made in China. So, yep, I have really been impressed with this knife. So let's go ahead and turn the camera around, get some size comparisons and some specs, and get a closer look at the design features of the Kershaw Highball XL. Alrighty. Let's take a good look at this. I like the color combo, the blasted steel with the blue as the pop of color. I think that is very attractive. It's definitely got, huge kind of sculpting chamfers around here that helps whenever you grab the knife to get a good purchase, no sharp edges. It's very nicely rounded off. You've got really good access with this area here to get the knife out of the way, to close it. It's just very well designed and I think looks really good. I mean, just sit there in the circle with that clip point blade. I think it's really nice looking. I think this blade, the way, let me show you these little, where the cutouts are, if I can get it to focus. See where the cutouts start. And it's basically like they just took an end mill, came in there, rounding this off. Now, does that cause an issue when you're going through material? Yes. Oh, we didn't do the cut test. Son of a bitch. Always forget that. So going through something like cardboard, it's not as big of a deal, but you can definitely feel it hang up just a tad on this area because even though it's got just a little bit of chamfering around it, it catches on stuff. So I don't think that's really a huge deal, but it doesn't slice as well as something that just has a full flat grind and maybe a hole there. It's just, you know, kind of the nature of the beast. But it still cuts, and it cuts well. The one thing that it does have, you know, it cuts, but it is a little thicker behind the edge than some of the other offerings that you have in this price point that you can get. It's around 21 or so, 22 thousandths behind the edge. So it's not, that's not thick, right? But, you know, comparing it to something like the Riffle, which is like 11 thousandths behind the edge and a full flat grind, but it does have a hole that's very nicely chamfered. Like that thing cuts really, really well. This one does too, but it has that little bit of an issue that might hang you up in some materials. I don't think is a big deal, but it is something to keep in mind. Now, what is the size of this XL knife, which is not an XL knife? It's an overall length of 7.5 inches and a closed length of 4.3, a blade length of 3.3 with D2 steel clip point blade, 21 thousandths behind the edge. I don't think I wrote down the actual blade stock thickness. Let's go ahead. It is relatively thin. We are looking at about 120 thousandths, so pretty normal as far as blade stock. Look at that wonderful jimping. I just love the way they did the jimping. I mean, that really, you know, it's a little thing, but that little thing makes me happy with the jimping going all the way up here and very nicely done. That just really makes me happy. It's the little things in life, guys. It really is. As you can see, the blue, I mean, I've carried this. This is part of a giveaway, so, but it is still in very, very good shape. And you see the blue colors are still very poppy, still pop a blue. Sometimes you kind of get, when you start handling a knife with that kind of anodizing, it kind of fades away. It didn't really do that. One thing, this does have countersunk screws, but it does not sit into the scale. I really wish it would have done that, but obviously you can move it to the left side. That would be one thing. I just don't think it would be that much more time consuming to do that on the machine and, you know, to actually make it. Oh man, I thought I could do it with this. I've been doing this lately. Trying to do the reverse flick. Oh, there we go. Just because it's fun. Very not practical, but some knives is just easier to do that with than others. This one definitely works well with the middle finger flick. It's very, very fun to do so. Let's go ahead and see how much this thing weighs. So overall length of 7.5 and a 3.3 inch blade, but this is a full steel frame lock, guys. So it is going to be a little bit heavier. There is no internal milling on this guy at all as far as the scales. So what is it going to weigh? It's going to weigh 3.85 ounces. So with the size of this blade, I know a lot of people are going to be like, that's kind of heavy for the size. Okay. I mean, I get it. Definitely lighter knives out there. But like I said, for the guys who just like steel and they don't like plastic micarta, you know, because G10, you know, all that stuff. They just don't like that. This is a good option. I know a lot of the old timers, man, they want steel everything. And so I would, like my grandfather, if he was still alive, I'm pretty sure he would love this knife. If I was to hand him this, it would be something that he would want to carry. So let's go ahead and put it up against some other knives. Let's go ahead and put it up against one of our staples here, the PM2. Obviously, PM2 is a larger knife than this. This does carry better because of the ergonomics, the thickness. This is thinner than the PM2. The blade is a lot taller than this. So as far as carry, the Kershaw does carry well in the size portion of the carry, but obviously still a little bit weighty. Go ahead and put it up against the Para 3. Much more Para 3 size, but still, in my opinion, the Kershaw carries better as far as the shape and design of the knife that way. Another one I kind of wanted to put it up against is the Ferrum Forged Stinger. Similar in overall length, but you do have a thinner knife as far as the width of the handle, a much slicier blade. Even though this one does do well, this one is much slicier with G10 and steel. But you're looking at about an $85, $90 knife versus a $55 knife. So keep that in mind. So just to give you an idea of the size, I think it's a great buy. There's so many options out there, guys, nowadays for this price range. So it's really hard if you're looking for that one perfect knife, right? And it's going to be just what appeals to you as far as design materials, and just the aesthetics and what it looks like. And of course, the performance. I think they all perform very, very well. Kershaw, been in business for such a long time. They know what they're doing. This one is a model that just spoke to me more than some of the others, and I can highly recommend this knife for that right person. It's still very, very nice. It was fun to play with, fun to cut with, and yeah, I will have links down below where you can get this guy. And thanks for stopping by and checking it out with me. This is really fun. It was a fun knife to handle. Guys, stay safe in this crazy world that we are living in, and we will see you in the next one.